Hey guys, well, I know one of you knows, but for everyone out there, did you know that our very own Dan here is a published author and has a book out?
Yes, I do. Yes.
You did. That is a surprise. I'm glad you know.
Yeah, yeah. It was many, many moons ago when the worms
Yeah,
went to war. Yeah, it was.
2018 even.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, it was. It took me about 5 years to write, and looking back, maybe I could have done better. But I guess that's what you always think about when you. How you always think when you look at past things, don't you? You always think, oh, I should have done that differently. Should have done that. Da, 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 da. But I think I gave a good go. I have written a second book. Haven't done anything with that. I need to proofread it again. I pretty much lost my writing spark a couple years ago and been struggling to write again, which is frustrating because I do enjoy writing and creating worlds. And yeah.
So, for all the viewers out there, what encouraged you or motivated you to write The Hero Within?
Yes, my book, The Hero Within. I don't know. Because I started writing it when I was 19. Fucking hell, that's nearly 10 years ago.
Teenage angst. That's
Foul
what
language 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's most of my built up of 19 years of imagination and stuff. And I was like, I want to put this to paper, and I did. And then it kind of grew in my mind to an extortionate amount, because it was meant to be a ginormous 10-book series. And then I was like, you know what? That's way too much. This is too much. And I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I think the concept and the ideas are great, but it's just too much for someone who has to work every day. Not every, work every, work 9 to 5 and all that, and out trying to have a life and do other things. It's just too much. But
Well, it did grow into like around 719 pages.
yeah,
That's
the first one. I think I've actually slimmed it down. I can't remember.
that was like a director's cut version.
Yeah, not by much. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's funny that you've written something because if you don't know about the origins of my Spanky Rambles thing, I wasn't always a Twitch streamer. Before I started that, I did some writing too, which is still available.
Yes, I remember.
I'm fucking Googling this now, far away.
I read them. I read them.
Yeah, it's like on a live journal, which I keep getting mixed up with Journal Space because that's something from fucking years ago.
Live journal.
Yeah.
And
So
what was your go-to author penship name?
Spanky Rambles.
Hi.
Yeah, it's easy enough to find.
It's like, wait, yeah.
Live journal, Spanky Rambles, a slightly different approach this time.
Yeah,
that's
it's probably
Facebook.
really, really cringy. I haven't looked at it in years. I've not updated it in forever.
I can't see anything unless I'm being a bit blind and stupid. I see
It was some years ago.
Facebook Spanky Rambles, live journal, Spank in journals and communities. That's probably a dark space I don't want to visit.
I Google it. Well, anyway, to give you
Spank me Woofert's live journal. Maybe not.
No, it's not me. Yeah, to give you the quick rundown. Basically, it was around. It was actually I actually started this before COVID, but only shortly before, only like a month or so. I was in a dark place. I was depressed. I've been let down, and I was a mess. A mum of all people who said, like you like reading. Why don't you try a bit of writing? Why don't you write about something that made you happy? So I was like, oh, okay. So I started writing about Bottom, Monkey Island, Final Fantasy stuff that like genuinely makes me happy. And I just made like articles. So about 500 words, 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Some of them vary. I did one on like live bands and that. I really like seeing those, and it really helped. And then it just sort of evolved from there. Like obviously, it was just me rambling away, and it was like Spanky Rambles. Oh, there we go, done, easy, easy peasy. And that name sort of stuck when I moved over to Twitch. It's like I needed a name. It was like, so it's the same fucking one because it's like part of a charity thing. So I was like, there we are. So I could never change the name or anything. It's synonymous now with the brand. Say brand, like it's just me.
Well, I've also got a confession to make about writing.
Oh yeah.
So during COVID, again, like everyone, was looking for things to do, and it was around about the same time where I was like really interested in light novels. So I wanted to write like a light novel series. So similar to what Dan had, like a long series of just short things. But I wanted it sort of inspired by Dark Souls. So every item the main character would find would like have a brief description, which would sort of paint this overworld per se. So I went onto a website called Wattpad, and I was going to use that as my publishing thing. I wrote the first sentence and then gave up.
Oh, I I tried to write something. Was it? I think it was early this year. It was meant to be a vampire thing. I think I wrote a paragraph, and I've not gone back to it since. But all it was the prologue was meant to be random dude gets killed by a vampire, and then another vampire appears later, and it's like, damn, those evil vampires. Or it sounds. It was meant to be a bit cooler. Meant to be that's like like whatever, just yeah. I don't know, writing's interesting in whatever capacity, and when you do something really good, it does stay with you. Like, there's chapters I've written that still to this day I'm like, that was a really good fucking chapter I wrote, and it still stays with me. And I'm sure I'll write again, and it's one of those that realistically I should just sit down and just do it. And I think I'm just procrastinating. I think in some ways I've been procrastinating for nearly 3 years, but I need to actually no, not 2.5 years, sorry. But I need to get back to it, because near enough when this episode will drop, it would have been 10 years since I started writing. So you know what, I should write again. And my second story is really good. I think there's one story aspect I need to change, and that's just because I've kind of lived through it myself, and so I know. Other than that, I think that's better than the book I actually published.
Oh, I've just read something that's just made me wince. I go through my old live journal. I found it. I'm not going to say the name because some reason, whatever I did, it's not under Spanky Rambles. It's under my old email address. I didn't have the proper thing then, so I'm not going to say it online. But one of the band names I've just read out to myself ain't good. things have changed with a certain musician, which I give a shout out to.
Oh.
That has not aged well.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying any more on the matter. I just read it. My eyes just lit up. I was like, oh, fuck.
Well, there's certain things
probably...
I've written that I'm like, yeah, this will never see the light of day. And that's a good thing. And that was a younger mind who was absolutely stupid, and my mind has grown up. And so that's a good thing. I like to think it's grown up.
There's a lot of that with like teenage stuff. What you think is like really cool and hip, and then you read it when you're a bit older, you're like, this is trying too hard, isn't it? It's really edgy. Not about your book, by the way.
Oh, no, I realise that. Although there's probably bits and pieces of my book where it's like, yeah, he's trying too hard.
Yeah, actually, very quickly. Playing Mario and Rabbids, I've been playing that game. There's a character in it who's emo as fuck, and it's like trying too hard, and his name is Edge. It's like, it's like this is what people in the boardroom think the kids have. It's like, please stop! You're trying too hard. You're not going in my party. Hell no.
Welcome to Victory Achieved Podcast, a video game podcast. I'm Dan, and we're Brandon and Chris.
Hello.
Hello.
I was literally about to say something about coffee, but for some reason the word hello literally just slipped out my mouth, and I was like, I need a coffee.
Well, wherever you are, we thank you for listening, and make sure you have your coffee, Brandon. Well, you know what I said last time, boys?
No, but carry on.
What I would do for this episode.
I've slept since then.
I told you both that I would watch the 1982 film The Thing.
What did you think? What do you think?
Tell us.
I'm going to judge you harshly if you say you didn't like it.
I watched the 1982 film The Thing, and I fucking ate it. No, I didn't. I fucking loved it. It was fucking brilliant.
It really was, isn't it?
It's a really good film. It's what's interesting is it's this kind of slow. Well, yeah, it's this slow, depressing film of just these American men is it Antarctica? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And you just watch them kind of half go insane, as well as also battling an alien. And even just like it, and even when it gets to like the end, there's still the question of whether or not things are kind of left a bit up to you as a viewer of, is this is it this? It's great. Music's fantastic. I really like the visual effects. Sometimes just having practical effects is just great.
I still stand by the fact that it's like this film's got like some of the best effects ever in it. They were absolutely groundbreaking for the day. Like the no one well above and beyond.
It is quite a dire, depressing film. There's not really any happy moments, but I guess that's the kind of film it is. you know, we can't always have I can't think of you can't always have a happy film like, I don't know, 500 Days of Summer. I don't know if that's a happy film. I've never watched it, but
I've seen that. Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like, this film isn't there's not. It is quite a dark, depressing film with a lot of death, but it is just great. It's like, I don't know. Would you call it a horror film?
Oh, it's definitely a horror film.
I don't know. It is a horror film, but I thought it'd be far scarier than it was. I'm not
If you
really
think about it for 1982, though.
Yeah, I guess you're right then. Yeah.
This is why I'd say it's one of my favorite horror films, because when baby Spanky watched it, like back when I was like 6, 7, because I watched it when I was very young. That's why, and it's stuck with me ever since. It's like the only horror film I was watching and had to stop watching it because I couldn't handle anymore. I was just like, and it's not even one of the violent bits. It's the bit where one of the characters goes back out in the snow and you see like the tarpaulin like flapping around in like one of the vehicles. It's like, no, the tension's too much, man. I can't handle it.
I think the only bit that got me was right near the end, where when it's only three of them left, plus the thing, who is said character, and when the thing just appears and it looks like they just pop out and then just puts their hand over the other guy and like kills him. That was like the only bit that made me jump. I just didn't expect him to pop into the screen. It's just like whoop, whoop, and then there's the death.
See, I wouldn't say this game. It's one of the films that's all about the slow burn and the reveals the atmosphere. It's not about jump scares. I would say like the only proper jump scare in it is when McCready puts the hot wire in the blood and it jumps out.
Oh yeah,
that's like the only real one. Like,
that didn't really make me jump out, because you expected one of them. Obviously, you didn't know who, but you expected at least one or two of them for it to jump out. So it was expected. You just didn't know when.
Yeah. It's just how it's paced, because it's just phenomenally done.
Oh yeah.
This is how you pace a film. Just watch the film.
There's like, as you say, it's just over the course of it. Just has all the plot points it needs, and it's just all in a decent line when it hits them. It's good.
Yeah, and it's got Wilfred Brimley's best role other than the diabetes meme.
Yeah, I remember when I watched the thing, I think the main thing that sort of not really got to me, but sort of made me feel like mildly disturbed, was the bit with, when the thing first got in, like via the dogs.
Yeah.
And you saw like the dogs just transform. I was like, those fucking dogs, they're going to get devoured.
I could quote this film all day. Matt wants a flamethrower. He wants to what? You heard what I said? Now go get it.
Yeah.
Also, it's got the 3 best uses of the word fuck in any film ever. With fuck you too, and of course the all-time favorite is after the blood test. You got the guy stuck to the chair and he's like, oh, I'd feel a lot better now if I wasn't tied to this fucking couch.
Yeah.
I love this film. And the third one, watch the film. please watch the thing. It's the
on
best
the topic of like 1980s horror films, I can't remember, Dan, did you say you've seen The Fly?
No.
That's
next on your list.
I'm
David
not a big horror
Cronenberg
fan, but I'll try.
It's not. It's again. It's similar to The Thing. It's a slow burn towards the end.
Yeah,
it's more of a sci-fi thriller, I'd say, as well.
The closest I've watched, the closest way I've watched The Thing is The Simpsons, of course. I believe that's right. Correct.
There's a reference or two.
Yeah, where he goes through the teleporters. I believe that's...
Yes.
Yeah, that's The Fly,
yeah.
That's The Fly.
I was about to say The Thing, I meant The Fly, yeah.
I was trying to think of like, hang on, what part of The Simpsons did The Thing?
Yeah, because I was thinking back, I was like, I know they've done The Fly, but I was like, The Thing? I was like, which one is that?
Yeah,
I may have done. It's all to series 30. They're bound to have stolen all the ideas.
Like Nightmare on Elm Street and all that.
Yes, but John Carpenter, the director, is my favourite director. Like, period. Like pretty much everything he does is gold. The only one I really don't like is like Ghosts of Mars. It was around 2000. I didn't really like that one. Although I know people do, but it's more of a cult classic. But one for me. But like everything else he touches, great.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. At least when I tell my workmates in about a week, he's not back this week, he's back next week. I'll be able to tell him straight away when I see him, and he'll be happy, and then I'll go watch this film and be like, yep. I need to watch that. Whatever. Yeah.
Even the soundtrack's great, and all it is dun 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 dun. That's it. That's the soundtrack.
Well, it builds.
It
builds the atmosphere. It builds the tone. That's
It does its job.
Yeah, it does. It does what it needs to. That's all a good soundtrack on anything, just even in video games. If it sets the tone and the atmosphere, it's great.
Yeah. So now you've just got to watch the 2011 remake and the game, but at your own caution.
I think I'll leave them. I think there's more important things in my mind than those two.
I would say this about the 2011 one. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It does have some good ideas, but the CGI is terrible in it.
Well, it's with the Norwegian team, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a prequel. So
Yes, it's just how the Norwegian.
What happens?
It's one of those where it's like the death of the Norwegians is more interesting if it's not shown.
Oh yeah, but they did do some good things. Like what them being Norwegian, there's like a couple of American ones, adds to the tension because they're speaking a different language entirely. So that's a good thing.
Was that through the entire film?
Pretty much, yeah. So it just adds that extra layer of like who's who. Like don't trust anyone.
Like I was watching this is a complete this is a complete 180. But I was watching this anime, and one of the characters randomly decided she'd had enough, and she flew to America, and she flew to New York, and instantly everyone was speaking English, and she was like, well, I don't understand this, and then she used the magical powers so that everyone sounded Japanese to her. But it was the fact that they were still speaking American. It was quite nice. I like it when things, not just films and games, and I like it when they like do that, where it's like it's actually realistic.
Well, speaking of the opposite of realistic, one last thing on The Thing. So The Thing also has running comic book series as well.
Yes.
And it's got one of the weirdest fucking things in it, but roll with it, because technically it's canon. So much later down the timeline, McCready survives, like the helicopter pilot, like the main character. So he's trying to like warn the world of like the Thing. He gets hospitalized. But here's the thing that actually happens. There's a bit where he's in a hospital and there's like this sort of farm outside, and he's convinced that one of the sheep in one of the fields is the Thing. And people think he's going nuts. And the first thing is, he's fucking correct. It's a bit of a tonal shift from the film, I must say.
I don't know, like, it's one of those that I think with how it ends, I don't really care if, said characters survived or not. Like, I think it's nice if I just make up my mind of, I think this happens or this, and I think that's more interesting than going, here's now a comic book series, oh yeah, McCready survives, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I know you say it's canon, but it's one of those, leave it ambiguous, and it lets you make up your own story of what happens next, or how you think what the ending means, or I don't know. It's one of those things where it's how we started our podcast talking about books. It's the great writing rule: show, don't tell, and
I feel like that's like the sort of like, again, relating this back to the From Software games, all the lore is hidden behind the blocks of text of every individual item.
Well, it's not also. There's also environmental stuff.
Oh yeah, just like small, just topographical things, and you can sort of piece together. But it's like you pick up this like random item, and it just tells you something about like the greater world. Like there's certain like blood vials in Bloodborne were used for bloodletting, and then the whole history of bloodletting and why they did it. It was like playing through Bloodborne, you wouldn't really know that unless you've really sort of read.
The story's there, but you got to look for it and pay attention.
Like there's a whole load of stuff like of just where the environment just tells more than here's a block of text, and it's like, well, I don't really care. I don't want to read that. But whereas like you see environment, and it will say, there'll be like, a dead body or that's like been, melted by acid, and the next minute you're killing a monster that spews acid, and it's like, well, there you go. I'm just making something up about. I've got an example, but I don't want to. You know what I mean? No.
I was about to say, it's the opposite end of the spectrum. Like the things I hate in RPGs, it's just when characters are talking, the cutscene just keeps going, and I'm just smashing A. It's like, shut the hell up! It's like, if I want the story, I'll find it. Just shut up. Let me play the game.
That's why I've still not bought Persona 5 Royal, because half of that game is just all the characters standing around just talking. I'm just like, just shut up. Just let me play.
I just want to smack demons around.
Oh well. Well, you're saying something completely opposite end of the spectrum from The Thing. I watched the new Indiana Jones film.
That's still a thing, isn't it?
How did you find it then?
Well, you all kind of already know how I feel about it. This film has a great first half an hour that felt like classic Indiana Jones.
Then what happened to the
And
other half an
then-
hour? Then what happened to the rest of it?
Well, it was basically like this. I felt like someone had blown a balloon up, and I was like, this is really really nice balloon, and then someone got a pin and made a tiny hole that didn't pop it, and it just slowly deflated over the next 2 hours, and I was just like, yeah, I wish you just popped it instantly then instead of just slowly deflating it. Like, I don't know. This is better than Crystal Skull, but not by much. It felt like, who wants to watch sad Indiana Jones? Who wants to see him converse with a very unlikable character? Who wants to see them do something that that a lot of people didn't like? And then, I don't know, like, it was also too long. The film was too long. Like, I don't know. The action, there was like the second action scene after he's old is actually really good, to be fair. But other than that, I don't want to watch a sad Indiana Jones film.
So, if you had your own dial of destiny, what would you go back in time and change?
Spoilers.
It's literally in the title of the film.
True. What I would do is I would erase the Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny from existence. There you go.
Good choice. I appreciate you erasing Crystal Skull.
Like,
we don't have that words in our house. That's like swear words.
Last
We don't
Crusade
have that.
was the perfect end. In my opinion, it's the best Indiana Jones film. And it was the perfect end to the franchise.
Yeah, first like 5 minutes of Crystal Skull, like after the opening thing, it's like, oh, sorry, Dad, you died. It's like, oh, that cup of everlasting life not fucking worked. Then did you keep the receipt?
Like there are good ideas with Dial of Destiny, and for the most part, it is fun-ish, but there's just too many things along the journey that are just frustrating, and it's like, yeah, who wants to hear as I say, sad Indiana Jones? You know, you want to hear Indiana Jones happy, and yeah, it's not just someone who's like, yep, pretty much near death. Yep, you know, who really wants to hear that? I don't, you know, that's not really the character he was shown to be. But you know, that's what we got in Dial of Destiny. Mad Mikkelsen is a good villain though. He was well. It's Mads. He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah,
actor.
I've heard he's good at it, but that's a given, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there you go. That's Dial of Destiny for you. If I had to, you know, I would give like the thing like a good 8.5 or 9 out of 10. And Dial of Destiny was probably a 2 or 3.
Oh gosh.
That is
Let's
like.
see like IMDb's and Rotten Tomato ratings.
Oh, I think the thing is like 8.2 from last time I checked. I don't know about Indiana Jones. That's like 5 point something, 5.6.
Gosh. Do you think it's mainly because Harrison Ford was getting on? Wait, is Harrison Ford still in this one?
Yeah, of course he is. He's a fucking 80.
I was about to say, like, do you think it's the sort of mellowed down just because he's getting on a bit, or was his scenes actually still pretty good?
A mixture. Like there's a bit where he's on a horse, and obviously he's not riding the horse because he's fucking 80.
With the like CG the horse in,
Well, no, it's someone else.
or
riding
just never show it with him and the horse in the same frame.
No, it's someone else riding it, and then they've put Harrison Ford's face on him.
Oh, they're superimposed.
Yeah.
No.
But even like the first bit, the first half an hour, that was really good. Even there, because he's de-aged. Even there, you can tell. Obviously, he's 80 with the voice. Even the way he moves, he's old. You know, like that. What can you do? He's 80. Like,
Yeah.
fair play. Like the first half an hour is great. If it, you know, but after I was just like, nah. And even like the end, it was so abrupt. Like it was just like, no. The end of Last Crusade was perfect. It felt that was a better send off than Dial of Destiny. When I spoke to my dad actually after he'd seen it, he was like, oh, they've kind of left it open for another one. I was like, and then after the more I thought about it, I was like, in a weird way, yeah, they have, and that's really fucking stupid.
You think they're actually going to bring one out?
No, they're not.
Or you can hope.
Surely not. You can't hear my dog.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was going. The guy's like, no.
I'm gonna shut my window. Sorry, boys.
It's all right. Yeah, even using it. Hold on, no, it might be the thing. Don't let it in. Don't let it in,
Dan.
Oh dear. Well, there's two movies. You couldn't get more polar opposites, and I put emphasis on polar because the first one takes place at the Antarctic, and Christ, that was forced. So
you really strained yourself for that one.
I did. I may have to go to the bathroom shortly.
Rinse your mouth out.
Yeah. I said the words crystal skull, so yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to.
Oh dear me. I'll wash it out with Coke. Anyway, let's swing back to the more positive stuff of what we've watched recently. Well, I've watched a couple of things, guys. One I'm going to go over very briefly now because I've only watched a few episodes, but this show kept appearing on my radar on my social medias, and people kept saying how good it is. And I know the show's like wrapped up, and I thought, should I give it a watch? I mean, how long is it? Because it's American shows, and American shows can go on for fucking ages. So, but I kind of quick look. There's 3 series of it, and there's 12 episodes per series, so that's 36 episodes, half hour each. That's all right. That show is Ted Lasso. If you don't know what Ted Lasso is, like I didn't until like this afternoon, it's a show.
Really that recent?
Well, I actually decided it today because I thought, you know what, I'm going to need to watch something else for the podcast because I'll have all to talk about. But no, I didn't want to watch it anyway while I had a bit of free time. So, so Ted Lasso stars Jason Sudeikis as a American football coach who is drafted in by a fictional UK football team to come in and coach. So he doesn't really know how football works at all. Some of the comedy derives from him completely misunderstanding words and phrases because he's American, doesn't get all the English language jingo, and vice versa.
I have a question.
Go.
Is it soccer or football?
They do call it football.
Just for the American listeners.
No, it is football in this one because they do a couple of the English stereotypes, but again, I'm very early in. I'm like 5 episodes in, so I'm expecting that to like dumb down over the series, but I'll see. I'll see about that. So far I'm quite enjoying it. There is a sort of plot with like the woman who owns like the football club. Oh, it's actually her ex-husband that owns it, and she wants to get back at him, so she kind of hires Ted in a sort of ploy to get him in so it looks like you've got someone competent to do it, but she wants him to fail to like get back at her ex-husband. So there's a bit of deviousness going on. But the character of Ted Lasso himself is kind of fun to watch because he's very upbeat and positive, and all the English people just don't like him. Everyone's calling him wanker. It's like, you wanker. It's like, no one likes him because it's like, and it just show like a lot of portrayals of like this English football fans. So I did wonder if they're going to keep all the football teams fictional, but in like the second episode they say they're going to play Crystal Palace. It's like, oh, I'm familiar with Crystal Palace. That exists.
Indeed, it does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we've been there. When I've been there.
I haven't. I don't plan to.
And then I escaped. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it. This is speaking for someone who knows back all about football. In fact, I actively dislike football. I don't think that's any surprise to anyone. It's not for me.
I think it's quite unanimous of this podcast that we all feel somewhat the same.
Yeah. Go sports, etc. But no, the football club is just sort of like the backdrop for all the drama. Like obviously it's there for like when they're training and that, but there's a little bit of emphasis on it, but not too much. It's more about the characters.
Yeah, I hear good things. I know. I did tell you this before the podcast, but the third season, I know the trailer has a Frank Turner song, so I was like, oh, just because it's got a Frank Turner song, I'd be interested to watch it.
Yeah, good. So I'm going to stick with this series. So say 36 episodes. I'm already like 5 in, so only 31 to go. Yay! I can math.
Well, I finally played it, boys. I finally played Octopath Traveler 2. Finally.
From start to finish.
No, of course not.
I just started it.
I've only played 7 hours. I only started it yesterday.
That's not bad.
So-
7 hours in one sitting.
So you probably just about beat the tutorial then.
I've got 3 characters so far out of 8. But
So you're still in the tutorial.
yeah. Okay, so this is the problem with many sequels. You can see the same thing. It's just like the first one, just a bit better, or just a bit different, or with quality of life improvements. There you go. The review done. That's like dumb it down. That is the best way to describe Octopath Traveler 2. I guess in more details, music's great, just like the first one. No surprise there. Graphics, pretty much exactly the same as the first one. Might be a bit better. I don't know. Story-wise, so far, it's just, it's the introduction for each character. There's not I don't have a whole lot to go on. It's still early days. But so far, it definitely seems to be trying to be different to the first game. There is one. The third character I got is probably the first character that definitely feels drastically different to anything in the first game, because you have to do his chapter 1 and his chapter 2 back to back. So you can't just do chapter 1 then fuck off. You have to do both chapter 1 and chapter 2, which was quite interesting. But then at the same time, it just felt like one ginormous chapter 1. But that's what it is. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I like Octopath Traveler, so I'm having a good time. It's more of what I enjoy, just a bit different, with some quality of life improvements. You can now speed up battles. You can now speed up cutscenes if you like. You can make them auto play, so if you just want to sit back and just let it play out, there you go. All the cutscenes are fully voice acted now, which is nice.
That's a nice quality of life change.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely the way I believe the director of the game, or how some of the scenes play out in some of the cutscenes, definitely feels like they're trying a lot, trying different things. Like the camera will pan out or pan closer in, or will go up and down a lot more than the first game felt very much static, whereas this second game, the camera will definitely shift quite often in cutscenes. So that's a definitely more interesting thing I noticed. There is a day and night cycle, and each character has their class abilities. Now with the day and night cycle, they get 2 different class abilities. One they can use in the day, one they can use in the night. The world changes in day and night. There are certain characters that appear in the day, some that appear in the night. Obviously, enemies are different in the day and in the night. What else? I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot of interesting things, but at the same time, it's just more Octopath Traveler. Like, if you enjoy it like the first one and you're interested in the second one, if you like the first one and that you had enough with that, you don't need to check out the second one. Gameplay wise, in like the actual battles, they've added an extra. Each character has like a special ability or like an extra action they can do. So like the character I've picked as my main character, she can attack twice a turn. The second character I got, his class action he can break a shield even using the wrong weapon, so it'll nullify what the enemy's weak to. And the third character I've just got, they can when they do a magic attack, instead of targeting multiple enemies, they can focus it on one and it can be stronger. So a lot of these aren't like a lot of the stuff in Octopath Traveler 2 aren't new to RPGs, but I guess it's new to Octopath, but it definitely feels like it's trying to fix benefiting certain things from the first one. Definitely quality of life improvements. Definitely feels like it's trying to be different. I am aware that later down the line there are, I think, something called pathway chapters where certain characters cross over with each other. Their stories actually do cross over, which is a big thing in the first game that is very disappointing. Pretty much all 8 characters have 8 standalone stories, and the only time they converse with each other is in something called travel banter, which is fine, but it's not the best either. There's some interesting travel banter in the first game, but it's so minuscule, it's kind of redundant, and it's kind of annoying that there's not actual story between the characters in the first game. But I think the second game, I think there's a lot more of that. But the problem is, I think with Octopath, they have the concept of you can play as 8 different characters, and it's trying to connect them all and make it so that you can still do any character's story in its entirety if you wanted. I don't know. It's a series that I like the ideas, and sometimes the execution isn't always there. But who knows? Maybe these pathway chapters will be what I've been waiting for, or what I want. But we'll see. I'm nowhere near there. Otherwise, Octopath Traveler is just more of the same, but in a good way. In my opinion, but I spoke to a guy the other week who was like, too much story. So I'm enjoying it. I finally playing it. Cool. But you played a game, didn't you, Brandon?
Yes, I play it right now as we record.
All right. You're playing it last night as well.
Yeah, I was streaming it and my chat were fucking me over with it as well. But I'm going to steal a famous quote from Spanky. This is a game which is available not only on PS Plus, but it's also available on Game Pass. And it is a little survival open world. It's a gridded game called Forager. So for those of you who don't know Forager, it is, think of it like a cross between, or loosely, like a cross between Stardew Valley, Minecraft, Terraria, that sort of thing. Where your main character is just like this little like white blocky dude. All you've spawned with is a pickaxe on a tiny little island, and essentially what you've got to do is buy more plots of land to expand the different biomes you can explore. So be it the desert biome, the graveyard biome, the Antarctic or the winter biome, and the fireland of the volcano biome. And essentially it's just expand, you kill things. There's like a boss system where there's like certain bosses. There are like NPC quests as well. So sometimes when you buy an island, you might either spawn like an obelisk or a certain like feature, dungeon or whatever, or it might be an NPC who you can do quests for. Like, I don't know, one of them might say, oh, can you find me the golden egg? And the way you get the golden egg is to basically find as many chickens as you can and harvest the eggs. And eventually one of them will drop a golden egg. Or there's one which is like, oh, I'm sorry for asking you this, but can you give me 500 pieces of poo? So you spend literally the rest of the day just chasing down cows, giving them food and harvesting their poo, because that's what they want. There are some quests like explore dungeons, give them said items. But considering that I only picked up this game just over a week and a half ago, I've already sunk in about 60 hours into it. I am very, I didn't expect, because I saw the picture of it, and I did not expect it to sort of like grasp me like it did. Like the whole concept of like the survival game, the boss system, there's like a market. So like there's also like a perk system. So you've got like an experience bar where like crafting materials or farming materials like stone, berries, trees, wood will give you experience. And as you level up, you can then trade in your level up for a skill point. And your skill point can be used to, I don't know, unlock capitalism if that's what you want to do. So you can get more gold when you obtain gold. You can unlock markets, so you can sell stuff. So I've just literally leveled up now, so I can read off some of the skills which I've currently got available early game. So I can unlock storage, I can unlock trade, sewing, carpentry, farming, fishing, hunting, combat, alchemy. There's a whole nice interwoven system of everything you can do. So I'd say I'm really enjoying it. The end game dungeon is called the Void, and that literally becomes like a bullet hell, which isn't the most appealing things because it's a very cheesy system of how you finish it, because you've basically just got to get like an army of droids and they do the work for you.
Basically, let's play Vampire Survivors randomly at the end.
Yeah, that's essentially what's happening. But the actual build up to getting ready for the Void is a very, very fun experience. One of the things which absolutely hooks me like a fish is similar to the Stardew Have you guys played Stardew Valley before?
No.
So in Stardew Valley, there's this thing called the museum, where you had to find like one of every item and place it into the museum, and then the curator will reward you, but depending on how many items you found. So it's got the exact same system in Forager, and it was really interesting to try and think, okay, I need to try and find said item, but how do I do it? Oh, I need to put like a fishing trap in a certain biome and it'll fish this, or I need to dig in certain biomes and I'll find this. So yeah, I was having an absolute blast. Like trying to figure out like how to get everything into this museum, and I'm absolutely hooked. There's different difficulties on it. I don't know how to unlock the different difficulties because at the moment I'm still playing on classic mode, but I think there's like a medium difficulty, a hard difficulty. But there's like 4 different ones to choose from, and I've got no idea how to unlock them. So as soon as I find out, I'll let you all know. But yeah, if you do like chill survival, get like just happy survival games, like pick up Forager. It's great. Like on stream yesterday, like as I said, my viewers were like fucking me over. So like they made rules like, oh, you cannot buy islands to the up and to the left. I was like, well, how the hell am I going to get there? And they were like, oh, if you want to like disband one of the rules, you can do gambling. So in the game, there's like when you level up, you can unlock a slot machine, and for 85 gold, you can basically play the slot machine. And they made this rule where if I get the jackpot, I can undo one of the rules they made up. So it's literally just getting to the point where if I die, I have to sell everything and start from scratch. I can't travel between islands unless I use a certain amount of bridges. If one of the islands, there's like a beetroot which spawn, and they're like, if you kill like Papa Turnip, like if you accidentally hit Papa Turnip, we'll give you a new rule, or if you accidentally kill him, then just start again. It's like, oh, this is getting just absolutely manic. But yeah, as I said, overall, if you like survival games, please pick up Forager. I'm sure you'll have a great time playing it, because I most certainly am.
Well, I'll tell you what, I bet you had a better time with that than the one game I played. I'm just going to go over this briefly, but I did actually play a game this week. I played fucking Paw Patrol Adventures Equals the movie.
Game Pass, well, it's no longer in Game Pass as of the time recording now, is it?
I think it's going away in a couple of days, but yeah.
Your favorite game?
Yes, my favorite game to set fire to.
Your favorite game franchise?
Yes, I have actually played all of the Paw Patrol games now. They're done. They're finished. I don't have to touch them ever again.
The sequel comes out.
Yeah. Isn't yours and Weldy's least favorite dog the same?
I think everyone's favorite dog's the same.
No, I said least favorite dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, look, I mean, like everyone like hates this dog.
Yeah, Chase.
He's a bad dog.
Please fill me in. Why is this?
He apparently does nothing.
Oh, so it's like Sakura.
What?
From Naruto, basically does nothing.
Oh.
No, that's not the reason. That's not the reason. He's meant to be like in charge, and he's also a policeman. And you know how people feel about policemen.
Ah, so he's a manager. I get you. So he does fuck all. Okay, got you. Roger that.
All right. Okay, no. Right. Yeah. This game. It's not really a fucking game. All this is assets stolen and recycled from the other games that's used ad infinitum. There's only about 5 minutes of actual game content, and it's just looped over for like every level. There's no different level design. It's all just a city backdrop. It's like the same street you're running up, and if you're not running sideways across the street, you're just going vertical up the screen, changing lanes. And that's it. That's all you're doing. That's literally the entire game.
You look like you're having a fantastic time on stream.
I finished it, and I played it for over 3 hours, just doing the same goddamn thing over and over and over. There's nothing different. It's like level 2 is the same as level 1. Level 3 is it's just the same. It's like
kids.
Yeah, but it takes the piss. Kids aren't stupid. Give them something worthwhile.
Lego games. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. They've got puzzles in. This is nothing. It's just run left and press A occasionally. Or in fact, if you play some of the mini games, you don't have to do anything. I literally put the controller down for a couple of them right near the end of my stream because I just had enough, and I still were doing nothing. Yeah, it's not the same. Like it's just like the same backdrop. It's like the same looping level, like exactly the same. Obstacles. I say obstacles. Fence to jump over. And that's it. You do that for 3 hours. That's it.
I got a question. Have you actually watched any Paw Patrol?
No. I know I may be missing out on a ton of lore by not watching the film.
No,
but
not really.
considering there's no story in the game at all. This is meant to be like the movie. There's no plot. It's just go. Like, this building's on fire. Is it now? Okay, where are we going to leave you? I don't know. About fucking 3 miles away from the burning buildings, like running around collecting biscuits. So, not really emergency going on, is there?
Well, At least you two can bond, but with the fact that neither of you have watched Paw Patrol.
I never intend to.
I don't intend to.
Unless they come onto Amazon and I could do a watch party as a bloody
I've
challenge
watched
point.
Paw Patrol,
No,
sadly.
no. The answer is no,
choice?
I'm not doing.
Pardon?
By choice?
Of course not.
Oh dear.
Of course it was not my choice.
I thought it'd be like this. Oh, I need to watch this for the podcast so I could do an honest review.
No. I did not watch it by choice. I had to watch it because I was
I
was
knew.
there.
I nearly thought about watching the film just before I played the game.
No.
I'm glad I didn't.
Gave yourself
Really
the
wasted my
effort.
time. Anyway, I
Basically,
need to be more positive.
The positive thing about this, Chris, is that you never have to play any of them again.
No, I deleted off the hard drive. I did it live, so no.
But
No.
the only negative is you need to find out a game that is as bad.
Yes, so folks at home, if you can think of something that's like absolutely dog shit terrible, not like a bad game, I'm mean really
So,
bad, like
Gollum.
causes trauma at home. Maybe Gollum.
Lord of the
We'll
Rings
see.
Gollum. What about that
We'll see about it.
is it Redfall? Is that bad?
Redfall. Oh, that one. That's bad, but I don't think it's like actually like god awful, terrible bad. I don't think that's like at the bottom of like the worst games ever. It's just like a bad game. It's not really bad. But you did say the word red. You did say the word red.
I did
And I
say
tell
the
you
word
what,
red.
there's a show with that colour in it, and it's called Red Dwarf. I'm going to
Very
go out on a
smooth.
limb here
Very
and
smooth.
say, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we've got a few listeners who might quite like Red Dwarf, seeing as it's a geeky and nerdy staple. It's like hardwired in our genetic code to like it.
I think I could probably think of a few of those listeners' names in my head right now.
Yeah. Hi, Smegheads. How you doing? Yes. So this isn't like new for me at all. I've been watching Red Dwarf since as far back as I can remember.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the best things I ever bought for real was in W.H. Smith's. Of all things, I managed to get like a box set of like series 4 to 8 for like a £5.
Oh,
And
wow.
Still, I know, right? Back in the day when DVDs like cost like £8,000. I think the legitimate box set did cost like £100 or so to buy
Bloody
back then.
hell.
I know, like 50p, well 20p in like CEX now, but still, yeah, bargain. Anyway, Red Dwarf. So the reason I'm talking about Red Dwarf is for the first time in 16 years. I didn't know this. The Red Dwarf is back on the BBC because apparently, like Dave has had it, and it's been like on other channels. In fact, Dave's been producing the episodes of Red Dwarf, so I didn't realise BBC just didn't have it for all this time. But it has now. That iPlayer have put up every single episode of Red Dwarf, including the newest series, which I'll be honest, the series I've watched series 10, but series 11 and 12 I hadn't seen at all, so I binged them and I enjoyed them. And they also uploaded the film, which I hadn't seen as well, called The Promised Land. It's more of a TV movie because of what it is. And there have been talks about whether they might do like a Red Dwarf 14, because I know series like 9 and 13 are like the Back to Earth and like the film, so they technically class it as a series. So very quickly, the series is pretty much what you expect. It's more Red Dwarf antics. Red Dwarf, I've always thought, has not been the funniest show in the world. It does make me laugh, but not like really belly laugh or anything like that. I just appreciate how clever it is, all the character dynamics, all the I just really like it. It's a comfort watch. It's something you can just put on in the background.
I think that's I'm quite glad you said like it's not the funniest, because every time I watch it I really enjoy it, but I don't always laugh out loud, and it's just like I just enjoy watching these characters converse with each other and have adventures.
I kind of compare it a little bit to Futurama, not because it's similar, but like in tone as well. Just because again I find Futurama's fine, but it's not as funny as The Simpsons.
Some people
but it is very
that.
Well, that's just me. It's got its moments, don't get me wrong, but it's not as funny as The Simpsons. But it is very cleverly written. Like all the mathematical and quantum theories and all that space jazz. It's like, it's actually very clever. You know? And I feel that way with Red Dwarf too. It's like this is why when I was at school, like all of my smarter friends were into Red Dwarf, but I hadn't watched it back then. And I'm watching it, it's like, yeah, science.
Like what? Like the Breaking Bad meme? Science, yeah, science.
That's it. Yeah, go science. Yeah. But yeah. The newest series, as I said, I enjoyed them. Although I did notice one or two things in a few of the episodes, and that's they just sort of end very abruptly, like very quickly. Like it feels like they've cut like a minute out. It's like some of them, like it feels like they haven't properly resolved what was going on. It just sort of ends. It's like it's not really a downside of anything. It's Red Dwarf. They just write themselves out of anything. They've been doing that since like season 3, man. It was sort of at the end of season 2, they wrote out this whole storyline with like Lister having twins and that just went nowhere. But even the creators said they had to sort of drop that storyline because they realised it was getting bigger. They were getting a bigger budget, so they thought, well, they can't take this show the direction we want with that. They kind of wrote themselves into a corner, so they just flat out dropped it. But yes, they do bring back Holly later on. He makes an appearance, and Captain, I forget his name, Captain McAllister, is it? He makes an appearance in like the last episode of like the series. But that brings me on to the film, The Promised Land. Now, if you know your Red Dwarf lore, I keep saying lore today, I don't know why. It's better than a Paw Patrol lore. So I like what they do. I like the premise of it. So the basic premise is, and I'm going to keep this as brief as I can because there's a lot to cover in a very short space of time. The first episode, or the first couple of episodes of Red Dwarf, you find out that Dave Lister puts a cat on board. Over millions of years, they evolve into like cat people, yada, 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 and they think that Dave Lister's their god, essentially. In the film, the Red Dwarf crew finds like the rest of like the cat people, like other crew member cat, like Danny John Jules. They found like the rest of his clan, all in their own little spaceships, like what's left of them, because they left Red Doors years ago. And they've actually got a sort of divide. They've got the people who still believe in Lister like being their one true god, and the main antagonist of the film, who's introduced right at the beginning, is actually Cat's brother, who turns out to be a sort of essentially warlord because he's given up on looking for God, and he thinks like he's basically a heretic. He's like doesn't believe in it, and he's hunting down people who believe in like Lister and co. So it's like all your religious themes in there, but done in the style only Red Dwarf can. So I think the premise of it is like pretty solid. It's like, okay, yeah, that goes all the way back to series 1. That checks out. So long-time fans, I think, have been awarded. And I do like the antagonist as well. He's not overly evil. Like, well, he kind of is, but he's not like really menacing. He's still a little bit silly, not to play up to the humor. But I'd say as far as like Red Dwarf antagonist goes, he's like the best, probably the best one. I don't know how people feel about that, but I didn't. Yeah, but I did really, really enjoy it. Every character has something to do. Like they play up to their strengths. There's references to like the older shows. And I think some of the payoff is really decent, especially with Rimmer. I think he has some really good stuff. I thought there'd be like more interactions between like Cat and his brother because he's meant to be like the big antagonist. But apart from like one quick exchange, it's never really brought up all that much. Yeah, as I said, there's talks to do like a Red Dwarf 14, but I honestly think they should just leave it because I think it ends well. I think it feels like a sort of natural close. It's like they found the cat race. Everyone kind of has a happy ending. Everyone's had their moment. I think they should just leave well alone now. I don't think they will. There's bound to be like another special or more series because money. But yeah. I do think everyone did good in this.
Just look at.
I haven't. Go on.
Hell, if you say money, just look. One of the things that we spoke about, or I spoke about at the beginning, fucking Indiana Jones 5. There you go.
Yeah. The search for more money.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I've not wrote like any reviews to see what other people think about this. I don't know whether they're disappointed, thought it was meh, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a small Red Dwarf. I wasn't expecting it to be spectacular.
And that's the only opinion that matters to you.
It sure is. I'm very much like Cat in that. If it don't involve me, I'm not interested. Anyway, yeah, so that was Red Dwarf. So has anyone else got anything to discuss before we get into our main topic today?
Well, me and Dan have watched the first episode of something.
Oh, of course you have, yes.
Topical. I was going to try and watch more, but I haven't really.
I was going to try and watch more, but I kind of passed out on Saturday because Puppy woke me up at 3:00 and I then spent the whole day like doing the decking with my dad and I was just absolutely useless. I ate some pizza and then just started falling asleep with a plate on my lap. I was just dead to the world. I actually slept for like 12 hours. But yeah, we've both seen the first episode of season 3 of The Witcher. So Dan, I have a thought in my mind, and I'm going to see if we're on the same wavelength there.
Go
As
on.
a first episode,
Okay.
pretty mid, yeah?
Be honest, that's how I feel about the entirety of The Witcher on Netflix, because I've said it before. I'm a fan of the books, so I've always been at odds with the whole Netflix Witcher, always. So when people turn around to me and like, I'm just like, I'm 2 seasons deep now. I'll finish it, or I'll at least finish season 3. We'll see if I watch any more, but I've always been at odds with Netflix Witcher. As soon as they had season 1 had the 3 different timelines, I was like, yep, I hate this.
It was getting a bit messy with the 3 different timelines compared to like, if they just kept it as the same format as the first book with the short stories, it would have flowed so much nicer.
I said this to other people. They should have just done basically just done each book as a season.
Completely agree.
Literally should have just done should have done The Last Wish as season 1. Season 2, they could have then actually introduced Ciri and done Sword of Destiny. But season 3 could have easily been Blood of Elves, and season 4 could have been Time of Contempt, even though that's probably my least favourite. Actually, no, that's of the main books, that's my least favourite of the Witcher books. But it could have easily just done that. Already, this seemed... I've only watched only watched the first episode. It seems like they're trying to do Time of Contempt, and I've already forgotten what the...
It seems like they're doing Blood of Elves at the same time.
No, what's the book after Time of Contempt? I think it's got Flames something. I've forgotten the name.
I can't remember. It's been a few years since I've read the books. But either way, I don't know what it is, but if you could pick, like, usually the first episode of a show is there to sort of like hook you in and like get you sort of like mentally reinvested in something, because it's obviously the whole like. A first episode of something is there to sort of set the whole scene of the series, whereas now that we're in season 3, the whole purpose of that first episode is to sort of like reinvest you into what you're going to be in for. But it seemed like a straight up continuation. Like there wasn't anything sort of like a standout, keep watching this. It's just like, oh yeah, we're just going to continue for a bit.
In some ways, that's kind of good in some ways, but I don't know. Netflix for me, Netflix dropped the ball on season 1. Like in my opinion, they dropped it season 1. They've dropped the whole series isn't that great. Like despite no matter how many people that come up to me and talk about The Witcher, it will never be as good as they say it is to me, because sadly, I'm a book reader. I've read the books, and the books absolutely demolished this series. It's why I'm not a fan of the game. I don't really like how it plays, and so that also...
I'm a bit odd with the game. Like, I tried to play the game because I remember buying it when I was at university. I got The Witchers 1, 2, and 3. I just couldn't get used to it. Like, I'm not sure it's just because I was so used to Skyrim, because obviously The Witcher 3 and Skyrim was roughly the same time period. I just couldn't play it.
Like, I'm as someone who's gone through the books, I have no idea what the fuck Netflix are doing with The Witcher, because right after watching that first episode, it felt like they were still trying to do Blood of Elves, although I thought they'd done it. They're trying to do Time of Contempt, and they're trying to do, because I've just looked at the name of it, the next book, Baptism of Fire, all in one go. Fire. I really like Baptism of Fire, but it is a very drastically different book. But that occurs after the big moment in Time of Contempt. If I remember correctly, I don't think that big moment's happened yet in the series, which is on the Mage Island.
That's coming up.
Yeah. So it's still in Time of Contempt at the moment. So, and to me, Time of Contempt is one of the worst books of the series. It's still good, but it's because you know me, I like to rate stuff. Out of the 8, it's number 6 for me. That I'm not a fan of Time of Contempt. Not really a fan of Blood of Elves, to be honest. That's the problem. Like all the best stuff for The Witcher is all the later stuff, and except for the first book, all the early books are just like all setting the scene. And it just takes a while. They're all good, except Season of Storms is a bit meh. But that then they won't be doing. Netflix will not be touching that anyway, so I don't really care. I don't know. they've already butchered the best book. So I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah, because I like to see it from like an objective standpoint as well. So because I watched it first before I read the books. So yeah, so I watched season 1 before I did the books, because it's the same thing for like Game of Thrones. I saw Game of Thrones first before I read the books, and then once reading the books, I sort of had an appreciation of what's been removed from the media and like all the hidden gems as part of it. But if I was to look at it as someone who's like, you know, say for example they don't like reading for whatever reason, you could still find The Witcher quite entertaining. Like,
Definitely.
you know, Henry Cavill does an excellent job playing Geralt. Like, I really do think he's an excellent Geralt.
Yeah. No, I think as the series has gone on, I think the casting is, because I wasn't sure about the woman who plays Yennefer, but as it's gone on, I think she does quite a good Yennefer. I don't know if she'd be if I had to pick an actress to play Yennefer, I don't think I'd have picked her, but she does a good job. And I think the casting for the most part is quite decent, and even the acting is decent. I think it's the story they're telling. Right now, I'm just like, I have no idea what the hell they are doing to these books. This is like one of the worst book adaptations I've ever seen.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty bad book animations, if I don't say so myself.
Like season 1. And this is how bad. Like, season 1 is the best adaptation of the books, and even I think season 1 is a bad adaptation of the books. Season 2 and 3 are kind of like season 2 for the most part, but now after just that first episode of season 3, I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, because I remember watching it and I'd be like, what book are we on? Like, what's going on? I don't remember this in the book. I'm like trying to piece together what's going on.
Obviously, we've only watched episode 1. I don't know. And just over it, and then on the 27th, you get the next 5 episodes. So, and then season 4, we have Liam Hemsworth as Geralt. Yay, who gives a fuck?
I don't know. I've got a soft spot for Henry Cavill because of The Witcher. Because obviously, most people know him from Superman, but I'm always going to know him as Geralt.
Like, the fact that Henry Cavill is leaving is probably the reason why I'm complaining right now, because Netflix have dropped the ball on with the plot. They aren't following the books. That's why he's leaving.
Yeah, he wants it to stay true.
And that's like, no, I think that just says it all.
You guys keep saying the words books.
We do keep saying the word books.
We should probably turn the page and actually start going into the main topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Well, first off, did you know that Dan's got a book out? And secondly, yes. So we were trying to think of a new topic to keep things a bit more fresh. And although we do occasionally... We do occasionally talk about the odd manga and that. People in my chat were asking or started talking about books. It's like, I was just thinking, we've not really spoke all that much about what some of our favorite books are, what kind of genres like we kind of like to read, be it like fiction or non-fiction. So I thought it'd be fun just to have a not really in depth, but just quick overview of some books that we really like. So who wants to go first?
I guess since we were literally just talking about The Witcher, I really like the Witcher books.
Yeah, I could tell you a bit heated about that.
Witcher books are really good. They are like I went through the audiobooks of them, and the audiobooks are fantastic. Although sometimes because it's got the same guide as the who reads them. And if he changes a character voice slightly, it really irks me. Other than that, they are really good. Like, he changes Geralt's voice ever so slightly, and it really annoyed me for one book. I was like, I knew it was slightly different in this book, and you can tell. But
if you could only pick one Witcher book, which one would it be?
I told you the first one, The Last Wish. Last Wish is brilliant.
Yeah, the short stories are so fun.
If you had to do one from the actual Witcher saga, though, oh gosh, I've literally just got rid of one. I think
I've gone completely blank as well, because now that we've run to season 3 of The Witcher, I've been meaning to reread the books because they're quite an easy read. Like, you could blast through quite a lot of them.
The Lady of the Lake. I can't remember. I think that's the final one. The Lady of the Lake is a really good book. If that's the one I'm thinking of, I believe that's the final book, and that is a good book. Although it is quite depressing at points, but then it's the build-up of all 7 books. So there you go. Yeah, pretty much the last 3 books of The Witcher are all the best books after the first book. But yeah, so you had to go, which is the best Witcher book? The Last Wish because it's what you want from The Witcher: monster hunting, political intrigue, just everything. I don't know. I list out two. I don't know. You get Yennefer. You get a good amount of Yennefer in it. You get Geralt being Geralt. There is no Triss because Triss is a minor character. She's nothing in the book. She is literally nothing. It's all Yennefer. No, The Last Wish is the best Witcher book.
Agreed.
What about you, Chris? What is a book? What do you like to read?
Well, I don't read as much as I should. I used to read quite a lot years ago. So I did a lot of traveling for work. I still do, but not to the same extent. And honestly, I'm more wrapped up in social media now. But I'm always like posting something when I travel. But it used to be before my streaming. I used to read a couple of chapters on my way to work, on my way back. So I used to read a fair bit. I suppose I'm kind of like 50-50 on fiction and non-fiction, truth be told. But I'm a bit of a basic bitch when it comes to non-fiction. I've basically read like the big ones. So I've read The Lord of the Rings. I've read Hitchhiker's Guide. Really like them. Song of Ice and Fire. I've read all of those, including the spin-off ones. Where it's like with the Knight, which I can't remember the name of because it was years ago.
Oh, I know. Is it Duck and Egg?
That's the one. Yeah, Duck and Egg. Yeah. Yeah, I read those. They were enjoyable. I liked all of those. But honestly, I prefer reading non-fiction ones. I read a lot of autobiographies. So currently I'm reading Bob Mortimer's one, And Away. When I say currently reading, I mean I've literally read the first chapter. So that's what I'm currently reading. Some of my favourite ones, I really like Louis Theroux's books, where it goes more into depth about his TV show, like when he talks about stuff that happens off camera, because some of it's like quite intense. But if I pin down my two favourite non-fiction ones, but they feel like fictional stories, but they're not. Two of my favourite authors are Dave Gorman and Danny Wallace. I really like both of those. If you're unfamiliar, Dave Gorman's like a sort of stand-up comedian.
Modern Life is Goodish.
Modern Life is Goodish. He's probably his biggest hit now, but I was introduced to him through his live stand-up called Google Whack Adventure, which is a very, very funny and sort of meta stand-up. It's basically telling you a part of his life story about him writing a book, and the tale he tells leads up to him actually writing the goddamn book, which is like based on a live show, based on the book, based on real life. It's a bit odd, but Google Whack Adventure is fantastic. But I like all his other follow-ups because it is just what happened in real life. It's just what happens to him is very odd because he goes like out of his way to, I suppose, his follow-up from Google Whack Adventure was called America Unchained, where he tries to get from one coast to the other of America without using any big chains. So just like mom and pop stores, like small gas stations, that kind of thing. And it's just like leads his journey from there. But he's someone he used to hang around with, I believe shared a flat with, Danny Wallace, basically his flatmate. He's got his own series of books. In fact, he started off with a book with Dave Gorman called Are You Dave Gorman? Which, if you're unaware, the premise of that is they make a bet that Dave Gorman can't find 52 more people called Dave Gorman, and they decide on 52 as like the same as like a deck of cards, like 52 cards, find 52 Dave Gormans, and they've got like a sort of month to do it, and then it essentially turns into a road trip. But what I like about it is it flips the narrative like between chapters. You'll have one chapter where Dave says what's going on, and then pretty much the same thing again, but from Danny's perspective. So you'll have a chapter where Dave's like ecstatic. It's like, I found someone. I can't wait to tell Danny. He's going to be so happy. Then it immediately leads to, I'm going to fucking kill Dave. Yeah, it's a good read. Danny Wallace's most famous one is probably one you've heard of called Yes Man, which was adapted into a film with Jim Carrey in it. But the Jim Carrey film is pretty much in name only. Like it's got like the basic premise of you can only say yes to everything for, I believe it's a month. Like, every time someone asks you a question, he's got to say yes and just roll with it. Somebody bears him to do it, and he does it. But narratively, they both write pretty much similar, if not identically, to each other. So again, it's just telling you what happens to them in real life. So some of it seems a bit absurd, but no, it all happened. And some of them have even got pictures in to say, like, look, here I was here with this person. So you know, I'm not talking bullshit. But I think they have to do that because I think that some people might raise an eyebrow and say, that never happens. Like, it did. Other than that, the other kind of ones I read occasionally again, autobiography. I read a lot of musician stuff. Most notably, I've read Corey Taylor's books, Dave Grohl's books. Dave Grohl's my heroes. Oddly enough, one of the best ones I've read is one by Jerry Kramer, who's the drummer in Aerosmith. Although sadly he's no longer with Aerosmith. I think they had a bit of a falling out. But his like life stories about him drumming, one of the better ones I've read, because I don't really know much about the guy. It's like drummer from Aerosmith. I like Aerosmith. There's books lying around. Let's read it. And yeah, really enjoying it. I do highly recommend it if you want to know a bit more about Aerosmith and a bit more about the music things. In fact, two of the books I've read, I've read Nikki Sixx's book and Slash's book as well. What's fun with them is, like Danny and Dave, they had a stint in like the late 80s, early 90s where they used to party a lot and like hang out, and sometimes in some of their chapters you'll hear about the same party but from their perspective each, but like in separate books.
Oh, that's really clever.
Yeah, like they don't tie in, they've got nothing to do with each other. It just so happens they're an important part of their lives, so you hear about the same sort of event but from different angles. It's like, it was kind of weird when I read Slash's one first and then read Nikki Sixx's one. I was flicking through it, it's like, I recognize this bit. It's like, it's not been in this book. I sort of like flipped back, it's like, I've not read this bit already, have I? It's like, no, oh no, this was in Slash's book. It's like, oh, okay, so I'll just get reading. Yeah, they're both decent. But yeah, that's mostly what I read. Well, let's be honest, I mostly read for Facebook and Twitter now. But yeah, if I do like to read, I like to read about someone I already admire, like some comedian or musician. As I say, I'm currently reading Bob Mortimer's ones. Alexi Sale's done a couple of good ones. One called his Stalin Ate My Homework.
Stalin Ate My Homework.
yeah, political humour, but real life stuff as well. So it was all good. And of course, Rick Mayall's autobiography, Bigger Than Hitler, Better Than Christ. So, yeah, that's Rick Mayall down to a T. Love that book. I need to reread it. Yeah, I think I've been ranting too long, but yes, that's what I like to read.
Yeah, for me, it's generally fictional books. I don't mostly like sci-fi or fantasy, which is like no surprise that I've written a sci-fi book and two, and I want to write other fictional fantasy books, because that's what I like reading. As I know, mentioned Song of Ice and Fire, Witcher books. I've gone through all the vampire books by Darren Shan. I've gone through.
Oh, I forgot about Darren Shan.
Yeah, I follow him on.
Don't saying that, I've only read Cirque du Freak.
All of them are great, and the prequel books are good. Gone through, obviously, you got Harry Potter, but I think I kind of want to reread them, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna like them. I don't know. I've gone off Harry Potter in general anyway. I think it's pretty meh, but whatever.
Don't forget Stephen King, though.
The what?
Don't forget about Stephen King.
Oh yeah, I did mention Dark Tower. The first Dark Tower book's really good. I want to keep reading them. Went through the Demon books by Darren Shan. Like I said, I generally like fictional, sci-fi, fantasy stuff. Obviously, you mentioned non-fiction. I've not really read many non-fiction, but I did read a non-fiction book last year, which was really, really good. I thought I spoke about this on the podcast, but I don't know if I had. I don't know if I have or not. I did look at just before, while we were recording. I did look back at our episodes if I put it on, but I don't remember if I. It's not in any of our episode descriptions, so I don't know if I have. But when I went to Rome last year, I took a book with me, and which is a non-fiction book called Anxiety as an Ally. It's written by Dan Riker, and he's a man who is in the video game industry. He works for Giant Bomb. He's on a podcast called the Fire Escape Podcast, which is how I found. Well, I knew about this book a long time ago, and I wanted to read it when I first heard about it. I think it was just when it came out, and it was on my Amazon. It was on my Amazon to buy for fucking years, and I never bought it. And then when I was actually listening to Fire Escape and realised, oh, Dan Riker on Fire Escape is the man who wrote this book, I should actually probably buy it and read it, since I really enjoy listening to Dan Riker on the podcast. So I did, and it's a really good book. Although it's a lot about Dan Riker's anxiety, it's also just fascinating just hearing about his life. And and his struggles with it, and it does like have the back end is a bit like, oh, here's a few tips for battling anxiety, but it's also like, this is not a one and done thing. Everyone's different. It's a really good book. It's only like about 200 pages, so it's not long, and it's really good. Even if you just like video games, it's quite a fun read. Yeah, it's really good. But I generally I generally read fictional stuff. Another good book I read is the Japanese book Battle Royale. That's really good. I should read more, and I don't. But
I need to read more. It's just unfortunately that the things that I read now as a PhD student are journal articles about the disease I'm studying, and it's not really the same thing as reading like a fictional story. Non-fictional story is not really the most entertaining. It's mainly like following just a story of what's been happening with research over like the years and what the army they're doing. But in terms of actual pleasure reading rather than work-related reading, I'm mainly on the same wavelength as Dan. I mainly read fiction, or so like I've read the Witcher books. I think one of the bigger series, well, it's not really a bigger series, but the books which I was most looking forward to reading is I can't remember what they're called, but it's the books which then span off and became like Dynasty Warriors.
Oh, you mean Romance of the Three Kingdoms?
Yeah, but it's not actually I think it's actually, is it still called Romance of the Three? I think it is, but it's like a 2-part book series, and it's just fascinating just hearing the actual stories of all the mini skirmishes that happened. Yeah, I think it is called Romance of the Three Kingdoms. They called it slightly differently.
Yeah, it's Romance of the Three
Luo
Kingdoms.
Guangzhou.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Romance of the Three Kingdoms. That's
like it's been fascinating. Just I read them when I was like still living in Peterborough, but obviously all the stories of the main skirmishes which happen mainly from play like the Dynasty Warriors. But it's just very interesting reading it and seeing like the political mindset of the leaders, and also everything that happened before and after what was set during the video games. So like, for example, like why did they do certain ambushes, like more about the personal lives of the warlords, the thinking, the relationships. Like if you're a fan of like the Dynasty Warrior series, please read like the actual original books. It's so eye-opening into like actually what happened before, during, and after, and just the sheer amount of stuff they've missed out in the video games compared to like what went on in the books.
Well, you say what went on in the books, it's all history. It's just been fictionalized.
That's the thing. It's
been fictionalized the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and then
it's been very much fictionalized,
and then even more fictionalized with the Dynasty Warrior games.
Yeah.
So,
but oddly enough, I still feel like I grew up playing like the Dynasty Warriors games. Like the first Dynasty Warrior games I played was Dynasty Warriors 2. I never played Dynasty Warriors 1, and then I've played every Dynasty Warrior game since. Apart from Extreme Legends, I've missed that series out. But actually reading the books for like a solid couple months during my commute to and from work, because the actual books themselves are huge. Like it's not like your A5 book. No, the book is like A4, A3. It's huge. And it's like several hundred pages. Like it's a mammoth of a read.
It's like I didn't realize until Dynasty Warriors 6 that Sun Juan, is that who I'm thinking of?
Sun Quan.
No, Sun Juan.
Oh, Sun Jian.
The father.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't realize he died after the Yellow Turbans.
Yes. He got killed in the ambush.
Yes.
Well, shot by an arrow in an ambush.
Because I played Dynasty Warriors 4, and you can play as him from start to finish. But in reality, he died after Yellow Turbans, and then
it's the same thing in Dynasty Warriors 2. Because in Dynasty Warriors 2, you play as Liu Bei, Sun Jian, but Sun Jian does change to Sun Quan. There is the change after Hulao Gate, because Sun Jian is in Hulao Gate. But the weird thing is, so in Dynasty Warriors 2, you do the Battle of Yiling. And the whole point of the Battle of Yiling is because Guan Yu and Zhang Fei died. But you can play as Guan Yu and Zhang Fei in Yiling in Dynasty Warriors 2. Which completely doesn't make sense.
At the end of the day, it's the games, the PS2 games, whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, it's set... it's the actual Dynasty Warriors 2 set the groundwork for what would become the Dynasty Warriors hack and slash formula. And I absolutely adore the series to bits. Like the music in it is always fantastic, and none of it would have been possible without the book basically retelling like Chinese history, which ever since I read that, I've always been wanting to read the Japanese equivalent to tell us about the Warring States period of Japan, like with Nobunaga Oda and like all that stuff. I really want to read something similar, like in that same sort of descriptive tone as Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but for the Warring States period of Japan. I really, really want to understand all that.
His history is fascinating. That's why I remember I went to the Richard III expedition in Leicester many years ago, and when I was going through it, I was just like, well, if I didn't know already, I know what is a ginormous inspiration for A Song of Ice and Fire. Just English history. There you go. The amount of
English history is fascinating.
is literally, with all the monarchs, it's literally that is just A Song of Ice and Fire is just taking that. It's ridiculous. It's not. There's so many things that are just completely the same.
All right, I was just about to say there is one book which I read it because I played the video game, but it didn't turn out to be what I thought it would be. Have either of you played Dante's Inferno?
I know of it.
Yeah.
Well, what if I told you that Dante's Inferno is technically based off a book, technically, but it's not a book. It's actually a series of poems.
Yeah.
So I got a voucher for Amazon for a book. So I managed to pick up Dante's Inferno for the massive price of just a single penny.
So I thought, in one place.
Yeah, so I thought, I was a massive fan at the time of the Dante's Inferno game. So I thought, let's give the actual material a read. And going into it, I did not know it was actually going to be a poem. I went into it completely blank. And it was a bit odd getting into rhythm of it, because at the same time I was trying to rethink, okay, this descriptive line, how does that relate to what I saw in the video game just as a concept of the 9 Circles of Hell? And it was a very interesting read. Like the actual first one, Dante's Inferno. Well, technically, the actual book is called The Divine Comedy, not Dante's Inferno. Dante's Inferno is just the first part. Yeah, I remember reading it and having a good time. But then when it came to the second, I didn't realize there was a second and third part. And I remember, I didn't even finish the book. I got partway into it and I was like, I'm bored of this poem, malarkey. And then I dropped it. And then I remember going to Comic-Con. I think it was Comic-Con. But there was a guy selling books, which I thought was a original book. Like, I liked the front artwork, it looked amazing. I was reading the blurb. I was like, oh, this sounds pretty good. Flipped the page because I was potentially going to buy it. And it was in that same poem format. And he said, and I remember him saying, the rhythm of the book as it goes along will feed the story as you read. Like, he said it like some sort of pattern while clicking his finger. And I've never been turned off by a book so fast in my life, because it just felt weird. I can appreciate the concept of wanting to change up like how you read, and how maybe talking by poems might be, something snazzy similar to like Dante's Inferno. But if that's something which you've not necessarily signed up for, it can be a bit of a challenging read.
It's like how the original Dracula is all like letters.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
So I read a book a long time ago. I got rid of it now because I hated it. Called The Free. The blurb made it sound like it was such an interesting book, and then I read it, and it was loads of newspaper articles, and for the most part it was good. The first half was really good because it was all about these plane crashes. And then when it started getting really weird, and then it just didn't really have a satisfying end. It was meant to be ambiguous, but it was frustrating with its, despite being ambiguous. It was like, I don't get what's gone on here. I don't get what the author was trying to do here. So, yeah, I do not recommend the book The Free if anyone chooses to read it.
Fair enough. I think before we end, guys, let's keep this brief. Something you haven't mentioned. Can we make one book recommendation that we haven't brought up yet each?
Dan's going to say Chainsaw Man.
That's not a book, mate.
A real novel.
It's a manga. A manga is still a reading thing. It's still a book.
No, I'm not going to recommend a fucking manga when we're talking about books. There is
it's still
a difference.
A book you read.
I'm right. This is a weird one. It's a Christmas book actually, but I've really enjoyed it. If you just want a nice fun novel, it's called Merry Christmas, Alex Cross by James Patterson. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. It's kind of 2 stories in one, all set on Christmas. It's just, think of like a James Bond kind of thing. It's basically kind of like that. It's fun.
All right. Quick recommendation from me. You may have seen the film The Martian, but if you haven't read the book, which is originally by Andy Weir, I highly recommend it. Not only does it stay mostly true to the book, the film, although it's like the other way around. You know what I mean? But it also goes into more depth about behind the scenes of NASA, what they're doing, adds a bit more scientific theory into it, which is after doing like 1 or 2 Google searches while reading it, I was like, is that true? It's like, yeah, that's true. No, fair enough. Yeah, I recommend The Martian. I was talking to someone else on chat and they happened to bring up The Martian and I was like, oh, you know what? I've actually read that and that was really good. So yeah, The Martian by Andy Weir. Check it out.
If I was to recommend a book, I'm trying to think back to some of the books I've read, and I mainly did all my reading when I was doing my commuting, like to and from work. And like the main books I've read were The Witcher, a lot of the Stephen King books, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Can't forget that. How have we not mentioned the Lord of the Rings books as well?
I did briefly.
Chris did.
Yeah, but very briefly. But I mean, like The Hobbit. I wouldn't really recommend The Hobbit.
I would. Okay.
I would.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean,
First books I ever read.
I think I prefer the actual trilogy.
Which trilogy?
The Lord of the Rings trilogy over The Hobbit.
Oh yeah, but The Hobbit's good.
If I was to recommend a book, I'm going to have to say, I've already said it. If you're a fan of the series and you want to know more about history, just please read Romance of the Three Kingdoms. It is a challenging read if you're not overly interested in or overly invested in it. But if you want to know more about the history and why certain things happened, just do it. Just read Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Fair enough. And if you're very pushed for time, The Very Hungry Caterpillar is a fucking banger.
Well, there you go. Banger of a book that is.
I'm right.
Yeah, if I was...
I'm literally looking around. I'm like, I haven't really got any books up here. All my books are downstairs.
To be fair, I would actually recommend that Anxiety as an ally, to be honest, over James Patterson. But you said something we haven't mentioned, so that's why I mentioned.
Yeah, I was trying to think because I think I've mentioned pretty much all the books I've read recently.
But I've got books that I need to read at some point, but then life, yeah, and I don't do any reading.
I've been half tempted actually since we said we were going to do the topic of reading. I've recently done like a few like trips into Waterstones, and I've been randomly thinking like just to buy like a random book and just review it. Just pick up a series because there's many series I see in Waterstones. Like I love like the front cover artwork where it looks like that medievalish setting, which is like my absolute favorite sort of genre. Like that's why I just love The Witcher and the Game of Thrones series so much. Whereas, I want to give one of those a go. Just randomly pick up. There might be a series which all of a sudden I pick up and fall in love. Well, so, fuck it, I'm going to do that.
Well, that James Patterson, I bought it because it was a #1 bestseller when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, you know what, just going to randomly buy this. Don't know if it's good or not. Apparently it is because it's #1 bestseller at the time of its release, and it was really fun. I had a good time.
Sweet. Well, we started this show talking about books. We've ended it talking about books. I think we've nicely bookended this show.
Full circle. There you go. Well,
paper clip.
I've been Dan. You've listened to Chris. You've listened to Brandon.
You have.
As well.
But what you've not been listening is every time I've been coughing and muting myself. So
good.
Yeah, that's what you've not been listening to.
Well, as you know, we're on all the social medias. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can
Twitch
as well. Yeah, these two are on Twitch. Yeah. Where you find us on your usual, wherever you're listening to us now, we're on there. We're on all the podcasts.
Oh, and I'm on Threads now. Yay.
You're on what?
Threads.
Threads.
Threads is on. Chris is on Threads.
Yeah.
Do you know what Threads is, Brandon?
The new rival to Twitter. It seems okay so far.
Yeah.
Threads, how do you spell it? Frids?
It's the Instagram, Twitter, into
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, Instagram basically done their own Twitter.
Instagram, Twitter. Threads,
yes. I'm not on it.
Yeah.
I can't even spell. What the fuck?
Why Brandon sorts that out? I suppose we'll catch you later, guys.
So sometimes I feel like I'm getting more like a boomer. I'm not on Threads and I'm not on TikTok.
All right, kiddo.
When did Threads come out? I feel like introducing
last week.
I literally got it 5 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm not there with technology.
Well, your hair is in 2 weeks. Be safe. Bye.
Bye. Excuse me.
I didn't even get to say bye before you burst.
Yeah. Say bye then.
Right, bye, and read something.